Trustee McMullen.
Present.
Trustee Payton.
Present.
Trustee Oscar Brown.
Here.
Mayor Covington.
Present. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm sorry, be a special meeting, general public. Everything right now before we do this, is we're going to have a meeting of the whole, and we'll also have comments for the public at that time as well. Yeah, we're going to have that as well afterwards. Okay, hearing none, action items is bills payable. Okay, for your section. Summary. Attached for your approval is the listings of the general operating expenses for the Village of University Park that occurred on May 22nd through June 12th, 2018. General funds, $202,487.34. Road and bridge funds, $11,105.98. Town center funds, $3,164.15, totaling $216,757.47. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Brooks, second by trustee McMullen. Questions, concerns, comments? I have one, several. I see that we're paying for uniforms for all our officers. Do we get receipts for when they purchase uniforms? Because I see some are getting from $1,000 to $900 to $800 per uniform to $750. Once they purchase their uniforms, do they get receipts? Bringing receipts just for checks and balances?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, if I'm not mistaken, I think Manager Payton tried to give us a heads up on this one, that if there was a date that we did not pay, it's in their contract, if we didn't pay their uniforms by a certain date, we would have to give them another.
Right.
And they did not have to turn in receipts, and I think that's something that we said we're going to entertain in April of 2019 in a new contract.
Right, he does. Now, I did inquire about that, but the reason I asked, it says it's twice a year. They have to have uniforms, and also they have the first. I think you explained it to me, Cecilia, please.
Madam Mayor, no, the village has not required any receipts for
Right.
uniforms.
Yeah, because I did talk to the chief page. He said he will be sitting down talking to them. So what will happen? They will get a voucher. We're going to try to move that they get vouchers, and then they will go to the uniform place and get vouchers, and we would issue vouchers, and they can go and get their uniforms, and that will just clear up all that just for checks and balances purposes, because it's just good accounting, just to show if you spend $2,000 plus for a uniform, you should show a receipt. So when people come and anyone might want to do it for you on it, we have it right then and there. There's no questions about what we do. Okay, any other concerns, questions? Noted that trustee Wilson is arriving. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, I spoke to Village Manager Pete today, and he asked that I clarify one of the items in regard to the attorney's fees for Montana and Welch, which are check numbers 102-411 through 413.
Okay.
It indicates on the printout or the check register report that they're for March, April, and May attorney's fees. It should be noted that it should be January, February, and March. They were looking at the invoice dates as compared to the actual days of service for which the bills should have reflected. So that's
Okay.
January, February, and March.
Instead of March, April, and May.
Correct.
Okay. Corrections noted. Any others? Okay. Okay. Another question. I'm trying to think of that. All right. Roll call.
Williams.
aye.
Trustee McMullen,
Votes aye.
trustee Payton,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Abstain.
Mayor Covington.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. Pay the bills. Now, I would ask for an adjournment of the special meeting.
So
Moved by trustee. Trustee Brooks, second by trustee Oscar Brown. Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams. Aye. Trustee Wilson. Aye. Trustee Brooks.
Votes aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Votes aye.
Trustee Payton.
Aye.
Trustee Oscar Brown.
Aye.
Mayor Covington.
Aye. Thank you. Now, we will hold the meeting of the whole, committee of the whole meeting for a regular committee of the whole meeting is called to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams. Here. Trustee Wilson.
Here.
Trustee Brooks.
Here.
Trustee McMullen.
Here.
Trustee Payton.
Here.
Trustee Oscar Brown.
Here.
Mayor Covington.
Present. We did do our pledge of allegiance already. Okay. This time, I'm sorry, I don't want any confusion or letting anyone out. Will someone like to sign the sign-in sheet? Anyone else? Okay. Does anyone else want to sign the sign-in sheet? Yeah. Okay, card back. Okay, Miss Betty Wayne.
Good evening, Mr. Trustee.
Good evening.
I have a question about your agenda tonight.
Okay.
I don't see anything about concussion on it. Did you all come up with an answer? Are we gonna have our coaches take this,
They were supposed to be doing something. Just a second,
Yes.
just a second, I will let the attorney speak to that. Okay.
That item was tabled, the last meeting in May. That was tabled at that time, for further review to see whether or not we wanted to go forward with a resolution or some sort of ordinance. But no decisions have been made as to what was going to be brought forward at this time. It's my understanding.
Yes, sir. Trustee.
Yes, we also said that they were going to talk to the different teams also. So, and let them review the language before it came back to us to make sure that there would be no problems, downstream. Because sometimes, you may create something and not realize it causes some problems that really you don't need to have. So, I think when all of that's done, then we'll come back to the board.
okay, who's doing it? Who's talking to the teams? Are y'all doing it? Or y'all just said y'all was gonna do it?
Yeah, this is not a debate here, unfortunately.
Okay.
We're discussing back and forth.
Yes, it's being done.
It's being done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Kyle Summers.
Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Deshaun Campbell, this is Kyle Summers, and we're both finance majors. We were very interested in economic development in the village of University Park, and we want to know how young people like ourselves can get involved in that.
Okay, simple. You're more than welcome. We have a finance committee, and if you'd like to join that, please sign up to be a part of that committee.
Where can we sign up?
We have the applications at the Village Hall, and you can do them online as well. And we welcome that.
All right.
Thank you so much. I look forward to that now. All right, and the meetings are held, Trustee Payne, when are the meetings held?
Third Wednesday of each month, so next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, right here at 9 Town Center.
Okay, thank you. Okay, vote came up. Deborah Strauss, Ms. Strauss?
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Great. First off, I'd like to say congratulations to all of the Creek Monique graduates. Don't know if anyone here tonight had anyone graduating, but I had the privilege of going to the outside part of the graduation because they were limited on tickets. And it just did my heart a world of good to see that our youth are graduating. You know, they could be going so many other directions, but to see the, I think it was a total of 419 graduates, and that says a lot for a suburban location. Secondly, in the event someone damages their tire on any of the streets that are going to be repaired, is there a process for filing any kind of claim for reimbursement?
I'm sure there is. You could check with the village manager, which isn't here tonight, but I'm sure he could give you some information on doing the claim, because that has been done before.
Great, I'm so glad to hear that. And last but least, happy Father's Day to everyone. At least I'm the first person tonight to say it. Happy Grandfather's Day, Great Grandfather's Day, all of those. Okay?
I want to tell you last Thursday night, yeah, I was there. My last child, Creek Monique High School.
If you recall, I registered her for voting. Okay, but, and just want to give a shout out to the mothers that have had to play the role. So happy Father's Day to them as well. Okay, everyone have a good evening.
Thank you so much. And I don't want to dismiss the other young man, Mr. Campbell, which I know well, in the village, and we want to mention your name as well. Thank you, sir. Okay, that's all we have for general public. The first discussion is to change the travel policy to add advance payments of accommodations for, and excuse me, there's an error here. It shouldn't say committee, just commissions, because we're not doing that. It says here to change the travel policy to add advance payments of accommodations for the village commission members and include dinner. That's just that part, okay, that I'm going to speak to. The other part will Trustee Williams has suggested, but I will speak to this. What happened, we had an incident with our commission, our police and fire commission. They will not have to do any reimbursable because they do not receive a salary, they do not receive any type of fundings, or they're not employees of the village. So therefore, those are mandatory state statute training that they must have to conduct their business and do the job they have to do. So I don't feel that we should have to actually reimburse. So we would just make the payments for them so they can continue their modules and get them done, like we have done in the past. And that's just for the police commission and our other commission, which is planning commission. Those two commissions, which are only two in the village, that we will pay for their training straight out. So that's up for discussion. Anyone have any comments on it?
Yeah, Madam, I'll be recognized.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just also want to kind of make sure that when it comes to the Police and Fire Commission, that there's what has been practiced in the past is continued. Now, when we do travel, not we, as I'm still a commissioner, but when they do travel, they do receive a $150 check for travel and meals. We also want to make it clear that if they bring their spouses, now the tradition is that their spouse if they go for training, will only pay that $50, and that goes to the meal of that evening at the banquet if the commissioner who is going to that training decides to go. But the reason why I bring that up is because one of the commissioners told me that he, I would say he or she told me that they received a $100 check, and I want to make sure that that is not right, Madam Mayor, because we know that sometimes $100, if you're taking your spouse or if you're there for really 3 days, not just 1 day. So let's make sure that that is noted, that they receive a $150 stipend. So at the end, that should be $300. That's for their training in spring, $150, and $150 in the fall. So the reason why I say that, so we made mental note when the manager paid, the finance trustee paid when they go over the budget. The commission, at least we have $300 set aside for each commissioner each year for travel expenses.
Thank you for the clarification. Any others on that?
Yeah, Madam Mayor. I don't have any problem with the Police and Fire Commission for mandatory training, but as far as I know, the Planning Commission doesn't have any mandatory training.
We did have one this year.
There's nothing mandated by law for the Planning Commission members for training, because I was on the Planning Commission and was the chairman at one time for 20 years, and there was I never received any training, and nor was there any indication for that. Because otherwise, it's subject to abuse if it's not mandatory or required by state law. If I'm on the Planning Commission, and I'm not saying any of the members would do this, but, if it wasn't open enough policy, maybe I would rejoin the Planning Commission or go to a planning a seminar in Hawaii.
No.
So my position is that it should be fire and police, or anything that's required. If they come up with something new that's a law that requires something, even though, for example, a finance committee or whatever, but if the law requires something, then I think, they should.
Okay, we'll address that.
Right.
But there was one this year in Joliet, and it was $10, that's all. But we did pay that. So that was all, the only training that they had for this year for all planning and commissions there. And we were the only one, University Park did represent there.
Yeah, but this is accommodations, Mayor, so accommodations would be hotels, so if they wanted to go to Joliet and spend the night.
No.
Well, then, my position is then that this has got to have some kind of oversight responsibility for prior approval.
Okay.
So if it's the village manager that makes that determination or not, we ought to have something in place related to that.
Okay. Thank you. And then that does come up, we will bring that to the board at that time. Okay, the next part of this is, I'm sorry, any others? Okay, then we will go to the next. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Trustee Wills.
I have a question about police and fire. So we're changing what we have already. So it's $150 travel and accommodations already, is that written in the same document?
So that had already
It's
been
already-
practiced.
So it's past practice, so is it written? Is it written or is it past practice? Because if it's not written, if we all agreeing on this, I think we should write it down.
That's why it's
Write
on
it
here.
down.
That's why it's on here. Because I don't know where it's written. I just want to make that statement so when we can vote on it. That's why it's here at the village as a whole. In the event that we all agree to it, it will be it will be written, documented in our ordinance.
And Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Then perhaps we need to define what we mean by accommodations. Is it hotel and, meals? And if so, what is the policy related to the meals, such as, what we're doing right now?
Okay, I'm going to ask Trustee Brooks, since he's been on it for years, was that?
Yes, ma'am.
Assistance with that?
Thank you, Mayor. I will say since 2009, the Police and Fire Commission, it was always 5 members, and the village would always pay for that Friday night training, Friday and Friday and Saturday hotel stay. We leave on Sunday, and for those 2 days, really 2.5 days, it has always been that a check was cut for $150. I don't ever remember it being written in stone. I'm just only giving a reflection of what was given. Also, let me make a note. I meant to say, Trustee Payton, you brought up a good point when it comes to mandatory. Now, myself, when I came back to the commission, I only went to one training, and that was because I was already fully state certified. There are 7 certifications. Once you receive 7 certification, we do not have to send our commissioners back to that training. However, what happens is that they have what they call a general case law update, in which John Boyer only has, he's the lawyer, he has a update for that meeting. Now, I felt that I didn't have to go because you can just request an email for that. So my point to that, trustee, is that the more we send our commissioners and they're state certified as full commissioners, that should be a reduction when it comes to who goes and how much the money the village would be saving.
Okay. Thank you. Any others? Okay. So that, would you vote that we put that on the agenda for the upcoming meeting in June? There.
Just for some clarification, Trustee Payton asked specifically what the 150 stipend would go for.
No. It doesn't matter to me what the cost is, but we just needed to define what accommodations mean. So it could be, hotel, transportation, like a bus. It could be meals, and if there's meals in the spouses accompanying, how much is okay, as for the spouse. And, for hotel policy, is it the night before and the night after, that kind of thing. So there's no, I'm not hung up on 150, because if you go to some of these places, $50 is nothing, for a decent meal. So whatever the cost is, they shouldn't be staying at Trump Towers, for example.
Right.
I'd much rather stay at the Holiday Inn, so.
For you. Trustee, and then I'll come to you.
Also, to piggyback on the point that Trustee Payne was making a little earlier, there should be some type of oversight. As you mentioned before, I kind of like the village manager idea for prior training.
Mayor, let me just, I know I said it, but let me just repeat it again. Usually the chair, that was my statement when Manager Pate was trying to get a little insight on this of what went wrong this last training for the commission. The chair should be responsible of who's going and who don't go. To be honest, all the other villages, their chairs does it. In fact, most of them control their own finances, they have their own secretary and so forth. But the chair, and I felt my responsibility was, once I found out that we didn't have any money, I scaled back on the training. So that's why you did not see any training from the commission once I found, once I seen Trustee Wilson on TV said we broke. I said, we can't go nowhere. And the commissions understood that. And there was no need to go any further for the training that April, because that came out that February. That April, I told the village manager to be responsible, and the Board of Trustees made it very clear. The commission runs off the Board of Trustees' approval of the money, as well as the village manager. The chair has to make that call of saying, we can't go. And Gloria Barnett Brookins, the late Gloria Barnett Brookins did it as well. Marilyn Brown did it. And I'm just scaling back the memory of those who served before I became chair. They all took that responsibility. So I'm quite sure, Madam Mayor, you can share that with Chairwoman Young, but, you know, I don't know what wrong this last training for it to go so horrible and us to lose $3,500.
Well, correction on that, hopefully, I'm sorry, Trustee Wilson, just a second. On that, they didn't, I don't think they lost it. I think they said that they could retrieve it and try to make it up. So they said they'll get that back and they'll set another date so they can use that money. So they lost. Trustee Wilson.
Attorney, I did mention that whatever the dollar amount is, I think it should be documented, as opposed to, in the past, it was $150 for the commissioners and $50 for the spouses, depending on. I think that should be documented, just like every other thing we put in the budget should be documented, so you can account for it in your budget.
Any others? Ms. Wayne?
Okay, how many miles, in order to pay for hotel, how many miles should we say they could bus to pay for hotels for them?
How many miles?
Yeah, how far?
How does that work?
Where the meetings held?
Usually, usually what happens is that the commission tries to center it closer to Chicago as much as possible. To be honest, the only people that are hurting are the commissioners down in Cairo. They kind of complain a lot. The furthest we went was Peoria. The most recent was in Naperville. So
There should be no hotel.
well, they usually hold everything in a hotel because what happens is that your first class is at 7 p.m. So when your spouse, if your spouse goes, when you go, they want you right there at the hotel. The classes come, you know, back and forth. So they try to make sure to have it at a hotel with some type of accommodation to hold such training because it's actually commissioners from around the state of Illinois. So it's best for them to stay at the hotel that the commission recommends when they send it to the village manager and the chairperson to pack it.
And that's a whole, when you have conferences, even if I go out of state, they're usually trying to have a conference in that hotel.
Right.
And where you stay most of the time, even locally when we do. And they're normally in the state of Illinois.
It's over a 2-day thing.
Yes, and they're always, most of the time, here in Illinois. Okay? Okay, another part, is there a motion to put this on the next agenda? Moved by trustee. I'm sorry.
Since we don't have the language in there, I would recommend that be prepared and maybe put it on the first reading.
Okay,
Or first or second reading.
thank you. First and second?
Aye.
Okay, everybody, is that okay with everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now trustee Williams has a suggestion that the dinners, I know we are paying for the trustees, just to let you know, update you, we are paying for trustees to go for training, which is $4,600 a piece every per year. And now trustee Williams asked that, except me, I'm sorry, I'm excluded from the $4,600. The dinners, like we have Southburg Mayor Managers dinners, we have that. She wants moving that we can pay for the dinner. They range between $50 to $75 a dinner. So she wants to make a motion or suggestion that the trustees be reimbursed for dinners as well. Trustee Williams, want to elaborate on it?
No. Is it mandatory that they go?
No.
No. That's our money.
South Suburban Mayor Managers dinners and different dinners that we have, but I'll let Trustee Williams out of
Okay, it's all of the dinners that we go to, that they have, what would you call it? Orientations and stuff like that, and letting us know different things. They're there to teach us what they want us to know. And we have dinner when they do that. I don't see why it's been in the past, the last 40 years that it's been paid for. Now why should it stop? Not only that, when the commissioners came up, what was that, a couple of weeks ago? The last meeting? He didn't go because he had to pay up front. I didn't think that's right. I think that, we don't have to get reimbursed. I think it should be paid for like it's been paid for all these years. That's my thing.
I've been a trustee up here a long time, and we always had to pay for it. I don't know who was paying for it. Sometime maybe the previous administration paid for some people, but I always, since I've been a trustee, paid for my own. I had to write a check for mine.
I never known that. Mayor, this is my second term of being trustee. The first 4 years, no trustee paid for it.
I have, and I can show you receipts.
Maybe you did, I didn't know.
They never paid for
It
it.
wasn't told to us.
No.
It wasn't told to us, but I don't think it's right for us to have to come out of our pockets.
I'm sorry. She's speaking. Go ahead. I was gonna let you finish, and then I'll go.
Okay, well, I just don't see, I don't think it's right, I don't think it's even fair that we have to come out of our pockets first and then get reimbursed. I feel that it should be done through the village.
Okay, Ms. Swain, did you have a comment?
No, I just said maybe that's why we're broke.
I don't think that little money will break us.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hughes?
Yeah, Trustee Payton and Trustee Brooks just talked about mandatory training for people. This sounds like a social event for me, to me. The village is still broke, like Trustee Brooks mentioned, so why are we paying for social events? And I understand the training that you guys need to do your job, but that's a social event. Why are the taxpayers paying for you to go to a social event? I don't understand.
Well, yes, sir. Let her finish. Okay, Trustee Payton, and then Trustee Wilson.
First of all, I agree with Trustee Williams. In the past, when there was a function sponsored by an organization, it could be the South Suburban Mayors and Managers or another organization, the village paid for all the trustees to go. They wanted to go. They would poll us to find out who was going, and then they paid for the tickets ahead of time. And what Trustee Williams is also saying is true, is that when you go to a meeting like this, it's dinner time because people have work during the day, so they have in the evening, and they have essentially training in the evening for whoever's attending. So it's not like it's a social event just because dinner is there. It's a matter of convenience a lot of times. It's no different in some respects than if you went to a conference, and as was mentioned earlier, sometimes the conference starts the evening before 7 o'clock, but it's normally dinner, and then you have presentations. And it's very similar to when I used to attend the Illinois Municipal League type thing. They've had breakfast or a dinner thing, but the tickets are essentially paid for all at once as part of the conference fee. What she's referring to. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I think most of the board went to Bolt Field, right? And they got an update on where things stand as far as the third airport is concerned. So, the board reinstated the travel budget because we have new trustees here that will benefit from going to seminars, whether it be the National League of Cities or the Illinois Municipal League or other individual seminars that they have. I haven't because I think I know it all, I guess. But I'm winding down here, so I'm not going to use the village as a resource for something that I'm not going to be around to use it on. So I think it's useful. I mean, personally.
Just to correct him, the boat bill, Trustee Milton Payton, it was the South Suburban Mayor and Manager just chose to have it there because the owner of that facility wanted it. It was our regular South Suburban Mayor and Managers meeting, and that was the normal meeting, and we didn't really have a dinner. It was it was a buffet type thing, but still, it was a meeting for South Suburban Mayors and Managers, and out of courtesy, I'm proud of the board, and I invited the board to come if they wanted to, but we paid. Trustee Wilson was with me, all the trustees, Trustee Brooks and Trustee McMullen was there. We paid our fee to attend that meeting. Trustee Wilson.
So I have a couple of recommendations. if this dinner has a training or an update that the board members can benefit from, I'm one for, if we benefit, then I think we should bring the information back to the residents. So if there's such training or updates or anything, let's list those out and then maybe put a cap on it, because just to say a dinner, I'm thinking, okay, I could go to Robin Kelly's event, that's $100. Yes, Robin Kelly speaks, but it's not a training for me. So if we have dinners that are also conferences or trainings, let's list those out. So in the future, there's no confusion and everybody's on the same page. Because as of yet, I haven't gone to any dinners that I've been trained on. IML was a conference and we ate there, but that wasn't called a dinner. So if we do have dinners where they give us some training and we learn some things and there's a fee, let's list them out and then mark them down and then maybe put a cap on them.
Do you have any, when they give a conference, do you learn anything from their conferences?
They're conference, yes ma'am, not a dinner. A conference, yes, not a dinner.
But if the dinner goes with it, we can't stop that.
Right. The village pays for our conferences.
What I'm trying to explain to you, they want us to pay up front. We shouldn't have to pay up front, number one. Not even the commissioners, the fire, the police, and all that. This is what I'm saying. It should not be paid up front. The village should pay it. We should not have to be reimbursed. It should be paid. And that's what my concern is.
So one question, Mayor, if I may. So this is include dinner events. Is it a dinner event or conference?
It's both of them. You don't go to just a dinner. If you,
Yeah.
Okay, let me say something. If somebody wanted to go to dinner, they go out and go to dinner. I wouldn't want to go to these places that they don't serve good food.
Well, Robin Kelly has dinner events.
Like I said, I don't want to go to places that don't have good food that I don't eat. If I want to go to dinner, I pay for myself to go to dinner. This is something that we're learning. We're not talking about Robin Kelly right now. She's doing a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser. I'm not talking about that. You have $150 to go there. I'm not trying to go there. I'm trying to learn something that's from University Park.
So can you give us one example of a dinner that...
Anything that they give and they're going to give us some insight will be insight for us.
Yeah, just a second. Okay, I have to agree, well, what Trustee Wilson is saying. She's saying there are a lot of dinners that we go to. I go to a lot of dinners. And Trustee Wilson has been going with me. A lot of dinners since she's been up here. You're going to learn something from any dinner you go to. But this is really for the South Suburban mayors and managers. It's really not for the trustees anyway. But some of the trustees go because, and they have always paid. And I bring the information back from South Suburban mayor and managers dinners. I've always done that and I pay for them. Now, there are conference dinners, and that's what I guess Trustee Williams is talking about. The conference dinners, that's one thing, but you are getting $4,600 for conferences or training. Right. So those dinners, I understand that you can pay for that out of the 46. But if it's just a dinner, you're going to learn from anything. Anywhere you ever go, you're going to learn something. Okay, but like Trustee Wilson said, why don't we just list which ones you're referring to, and then we can address it accordingly.
Mayor,
Mayor.
as I see this from the past, everybody didn't go to it anyway. But what I'm saying now is what you're trying to do is make us pay first. I think it's wrong. That's what I'm saying. I think it's wrong.
Okay.
If we don't want to go, we don't go.
Right. Okay. Just a second, Trustee Milton Payton.
Yeah, one of the other valuable things that you get out of attending some of these events, and the mayor is a master at it, is networking. There's a tremendous, even more than the information that you may receive from the presenters, is making contact with other members of other communities. I know that was the real valuable thing that I found. And, I know the chief, for example, when he attends police different functions, and he is able to touch bases with other police chiefs and so forth, and see, and just to talk to them about different issues on the side. So that in itself is very valuable. So $50 for something that you may get or a contact that you may be able to make that'll help this village downstream. You know, it's fabulous. It's great. The mayor does that even on a national level by going, you know, to the Congressional Black Caucus. Now she pays for that herself, but still, the value is in now making contact with folks, you know, and it's just undeniable benefit. In fact, that's how the world works. That's why folks golf.
That's right.
Can I be recognized?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, trustee, you had asked me, and then you, trustee.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand what Trustee Wilson is saying and also Trustee Williams. I just want to kind of give a light what Trustee Williams was trying to express is in the past, I would say that there were trustees in the past who were taking trips that were going all across the world. Let's call it out like we really don't want to say it today. And one thing that my partner and I, when we read together, that was one of the things that we say we would not do. So we came to an agreement with the travel because Trustee Williams was trying to express that with some of the trips to go to Washington, some of the trips to go to Springfield, and I'll be honest, I have yet to turn in my Springfield trip. Yeah, see, you did right. Some of us are just not going to do it, you know, although we should be doing it. But I think also that Trustee Williams, and I agree with Trustee Paula Wilson as far as the events and what the experience that I had when I went to the South Suburban Mayor's Managers out at Boltsfield. I'm going to say something, ladies and gentlemen, that I really would like us to get out of this image, because Trustee Payton is correct. You do make contacts. I seen my boss, Dwight Welch, who said that he can help us with some things. Hold that to my chest. Didn't expect him to say he would do it to help University Park, but at that event, I was asked to come out of my pocket $50. Now, what was embarrassing was all these trustees and mayors were going in to get to Trustee Brooks University Park. Oh, stop. You have to pay $50 because your village don't pay bills. So I understand I think that's the part that Trustee Williams is talking about, that's the embarrassing part. But I also agree with Trustee Williams. Wilson, I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm sorry, Trustee.
Me too.
I'm still
Hashtag.
She is correct. I think we should put down where we're going, South Suburban Maryland. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, Trustee Wilson, you would know, we get advance notices, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
right, ma'am? Advance notices. So if this comes out to 4,600, I understand. I just think we should be at the point that we should not be embarrassed that every time, Mayor, if you want, Mayor doesn't pay for it, but I'm just saying if it's Trustee Wilson and Williams and University Park is walking in a straight line and everyone has prepaid for their village and it gets to University Park and we got to pull out $50 cash just to walk in here. That's embarrassing. But also at the same time, I agree with her cap. If this is part of the 4,600, you got to come and understand.
Right.
If it's coming out there 4,600, you went to 50 of these South Suburban Mayor's Managers all year, don't think you can get on a plane and fly to Vegas, because I'm be honest, there was a lot of money spent in this, a lot of money being spent somewhere else too, but it's not University Park. But let's just remember that we're very conscious of what we're doing now, and that's my point of view, Madam Mayor.
Trustee McFarland.
I really appreciate the invitation that you gave us. We are trustees, and the invitation that we had to go to Springfield was totally invaluable. That experience there with all the other legislators in the whole state was immense. It was great for us. You know, that exposure was great. And to see all of the trustees react and interact with all of the all of our different colleagues throughout the state. It was a wonderful sight to behold, and we still need to support that. And I agree with my colleague, Trustee Brooks, in terms of, if you wanted to come out for $4,600, that's great. You know, I don't have a problem with that. But that meeting at Boat Field was another networking thing, like Trustee Payton had said. It's a wonderful thing to network with other communities and to get to know other communities and what they do. And there's no better networker in this room than Madam Mayor. And she doesn't sit down in those meetings. She's all over the place in terms of sitting there making the connections that she needs to make in order for us to become a better village. And I'm totally supportive of Trustee Williams in reference to being that early. That's fine. And I like what Trustee Brooks said. It is embarrassing because we hold up the line.
Yes.
We hold up the line when it comes to those events because they want us to pay cash right out, and we need to start paying beforehand. And I agree with Trustee Williams on that. And if you want to add it to the $4,600, that's fine. So just pace yourself for the rest of the year because there are other interesting events that come up. And Trustee Oscar Brown has stated that we all need that training. And we need the training as freshmen trustees. We need that training. And I'm glad to be a part of it, and I support that opportunity to go. And I appreciate it.
And okay, go ahead, Trustee Wilson.
I keep hearing we can take it out of the 4,700. I just don't want to lose
46.
4,600.
46.5.
The 46.5. I just don't want us to lose sight. If there's certain events that are valuable where we learn something that we can bring back to the community, if that comes out of that, those dinners, I think we should bring something back.
Right.
When some of us went to Congressional Black Caucus, we brought reports back. I believe on a dinner, I attend many dinners, but I use that, my $1,000 or whatever stipend I get from the village, that's what I use that for. I don't even know how much it is. Whatever it is, I use that money for events for the village. Now, if the village is going to pay for it, then I should bring something back. If we want to do this, Trustee Williams, I think we should list the events that we have training, because there are a lot of dinners. And yes, you do get networking events, but when I go step in that Red Star commercial club on Friday nights, I learn a lot. I see other trustees up there, and it's always networking. Life is networking. Right. So we shouldn't get paid, I don't think, for all networking dinners. If we want to list a special number of events, South Suburban Mayors and Managers, once or twice a year, or some other events, I think it should be listed so we can budget it.
Okay, and I want to say,
one comment.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Justin.
When I go stepping on Friday nights, except at the golf course,
Well, okay. Well, truthfully, South Suburban Mayor Managers, I go every month. Every fourth Thursday I'm there. And we have meetings. Our special executive meeting is when we have the dinner. And I don't mind, I'm in the line all the time. Because I do not ask them to invoice the village. I pay for it, like Trustee Wilson said, the money that I earn in the village, I use that to pay for that. I go to a lot of things. I go, like in Joliet, have meetings, advisory meetings. I pay for that. When I was in Springfield, I was in Connecticut, I was in Minnesota, I paid the airfare, hotel, and they averaged me $3,000. And I paid for that. And I did not get the $4,600 because I love the village enough to do that. That's how I care. I'm not going to ding the village for everything that I do because it's a benefit for me as well. Now understand, you're networking for yourself too. Now let's keep it real. You're getting a network that you would not get anymore, or it had the opportunity to do that. And I've been in the White House 7 times when Special President Obama was there. And I'm part of the Guns, Mayors of Guns Against Guns. I'm part of My Brother's Keeper. And it did help a lot of things that I'm on the executive committee for AAMA, African American Mayors and Managers, for the treasurer. So it does help, and I want the trustees to know as much as I do. I told them to save their money to go to Congressional Black Caucus, which I can't wait. That networking is unbelievable. Trustee Wilson, when she first came here, she went with me. And at that time, both Delana was here. We went there. And a lot of that paid for out of my pocket. A lot of it, the money that they said I got, a lot of it we paid for still out of our pocket. You just can't pay it all from the village. I'm not going to do that. And I've been going to the Congressional Black Caucus since 1987. It was before I was even living out here. So it's nothing new to me. So I've been networking for years, like Trustee Payton said. That's how I met him, networking. But I want our board, I'm so proud of this board. That's why I send out all these events that's going on. I'm proud of the board, and when they go, I'm proud to be with them, and I'm proud to be a part of them. I'm proud to be a part of us. They represent us well. They network beautifully. And it's finally, I'm happy to take this board with me. They're not signing on the side saying slanderous things. We work as a group. They see us in a force. And I really, really appreciate them. That's why I'm sending it out to them. Everything, 90% of the stuff that I'm going to, they can attend, I send it to them. It's up to them to let me know if they want to go or not. Now, from now on, when I send it to you guys, respond right away, and then we can pay for it out of the $4,600. But if you say, okay, I'm going to go at the last minute, it's kind of hard for me to send the funds then, the check. But if you let me know as soon as I send it to you, okay guys, how many is going, and nobody says anything, but you show up, then you have to pay for it. And I don't want that to happen if you're interested in going. And they've been doing very, very well. Let you know, your board has been showing up and showing out. They have been doing a great job. And I'm very proud of what they're doing. Representing you, they're representing you beautifully and very professionally. All the pictures and everything, right? So, I don't know at this point how do you want to handle it. I think what we'll do is we'll get with the board. I'll send out an email and say which ones that you would want to pay, and you can pay it out of your $4,600, or you want additional money for the dinners. Just tell me how you want this done.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I think any cost should come out of the budget. The $4,600. If it's one dinner or it's a conference, there shouldn't be any added money to what's already been.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. Okay, you don't want to add. Okay, so Trustee Williams, you wanted to add more plus the 46, right?
What I was saying, my concern is we shouldn't have to pay for it out of our pockets when we get there. It should be paid for by the village. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but it will be part of the 46, it won't be any additional money. So once the 46 is exhausted, that's it, that's all. For travel, training, and dinners.
Right. All right, that's what you want to do. That's the way you want to do it. Training is all over the place. These dinners, we all don't go to them all the time. This is what I'm trying to say to you.
It's clear.
Okay. That's clear. Okay.
Okay, no, it's not. Not clear to you. I don't know, make it clear what exactly you're saying. The dinner should be separate from the training. That's what you're saying.
I really think so.
Okay.
Training is where we go, we get trained to do different things. We go to the classroom 7 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening.
Right, I've done it.
5 days a week.
Right, I've done it.
So this is different. We go to the conferences, we meet people just like Trustee Payton was saying. We get the different people to come in to talk to us.
Right, training. Yeah, I know.
So it's not just you going to dinner.
No. The conferences, I get that. Because in the conferences, all the conferences that I go to, you have all the food and the dinner and the breakfast is all inclusive in that. When I paid $3,000 last 2 months ago, I had my breakfast and my dinner was included. okay? So, not the airfare, but an hotel wasn't in there. But that was that. So when I left there, that dinner and everything was a part of that. But now when I went to Boatfield, that was $50. Sometimes I go there $75. I have to pay separate for that. So you're saying once we get the training and the dinners, that's one price. But when we go to the separate dinners locally or whatever, that should be a separate. That shouldn't be a part of the $4,600. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, that's what you're saying. Okay. All right.
Mayor, look, let me just put, at least from my perspective.
Okay. Sure.
First of all, I think 4,600 is 4,600, whatever you spend, whether it be dinner or conference, whatever it comes out of that. I think the issue that Trustee Williams was raising was that if there's going to, whether it be a conference or if there's a dinner, the village should, if they want to attend, the village should pay for it ahead of time. But it still comes out to 4,600.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Right. So that's where I am on the issue.
What I'm saying is, when it comes to the dinners and things like she was talking about the airport, stuff like that is different. Everybody don't attend those things at all. But you did learn something. You learned something about the airports coming, right?
That wasn't that meeting. That was an executive meeting. It just happened to be in Boatfield. They always talk about the airport. And even last night, we talked about the airport in a meeting.
What I'm saying is, I'm not trying to say that just we go to dinner and you got to pay for it. The village got to pay for us going to dinner. I'm not saying that. I'm saying anything that's going to give us some training, something like that.
Well, that's knowledge. You're going to get knowledge
anywhere you go.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. But this is for the village. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, okay. Every second Tuesday of the month, I'm on the training. I'm on the planning commission. We have lunch first. I just go to the meeting. I don't participate in the lunch. So, and I come back with my report from that meeting every second Tuesday of the month. And I report on that because of the $1 million we're going to be getting next year. So, I don't participate in the luncheon. So, I don't pay and I don't charge the village for it.
Mayor, I kind of whispered to ask, because I thought that most towns, if they do, or whether you're an alderman or any type of official, just like we have our budget here, 4,600, don't most of them, trustee, they have a cap? I mean, that's my point. And I think I'm getting lost here. Where are we spending outside? Because when I'm reading here, it says change to add the dinner for trustee reimbursement. So I kind of got a little lost here on this one. My perspective, and I'm not going to say anything else, but I agree with as far as Trustee Payton is saying. Most of what I made, if I use it, it will come out of my 4,600. Right. And again, I still haven't even turned in my stuff from Springfield.
Okay. And just to let you know, no. Olympic Fields get $500 a month, and that's everything. They don't get anything else. And there's some trusts, some villages that have an expense account, this account, and that's why, and they're getting big money, and it's a big city, but that's why they're going broke right now. We had a conference with the mayors. I had a mayor's meeting with the last mayor last Saturday, and he's scared right now because the trustees they're getting their salaries, they're getting the expense account, they're getting travel, and it's getting ridiculous. But we're not that big, and we're not, please don't say aldermen, because some of the aldermen have more people in their unit than we have in the village. So we cannot say that that's a city.
Right, that's a city.
So, and looking at the financial situation we're in too, we're trying to get police officers part-time and full-time. So I just want us to be leery or watchful of how we're spending our money. Making sense? Trustee?
I agree with using, if somebody wants to go, a trustee wants to go to a dinner, they can use the money out of the 46 training. Okay. So change it to training, travel, and dinners.
Okay. That agreeable or? Okay. So we'll just, is it okay? You guys want to see that on the next agenda? Clarify that?
I can ask you that, what I was saying is going to be paid for upfront.
Yes,
We got
ma'am.
to go and put all our pockets.
No, what'll happen, I'll send out the message, and they'll say there's a dinner such, such, such. If you're interested in attending, please let me know, and we can cut a check to them.
That was the
Yeah,
main thing
okay.
that I was talking about.
Right, and there's no additional. Okay. All right, good, so we'll make that real clear. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, just real quick, as a resident, and I understand about the 4,600, so I'm moving on from that. But the attachment that Trustee Wilson was making, I also made several meetings ago about asking for a report. So we can talk about that. I don't care which trustee it is. I think they need to be able to articulate what happened and how that information is going to be useful to this village.
Yes.
Okay, the last meeting that we had at Boat Field, I came back and I expressed the type of program that they had at the Boat Field, and I talked about kids and wine and
Right, he did.
I did it.
He was very clear. Yes, he did.
That's what
Okay.
we appreciate.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a go. Trustee Wilson, did you say first, second, third? First, second. First and second reading. Yes, Mr. Gilbert.
You know, I wanted to know, has anyone seen, I know you guys continue to talk about $4,600. 4,600 times 7.
6. I'm not in it.
Huh? I'm
No, I
sorry,
don't get it.
6.
Okay.
6.
Make
Okay,
that clear.
4,600 times 6. I don't need that. My voice projects. Okay, so $4,600 times 6. Has anyone seen any type of cash flow statement up here to actually see where the village is at? Any type of income statement? Any trial balances up here? Anything up here to say that we have enough money to actually fund that 4,600 times 6? Don't you guys get stipends? I say
You've seen that in the budget.
Huh?
Treasurer, they've seen that in the budget.
Yeah, but they seen it in the budget, but do they actually see that we have 4,600
The
times
day-to-day,
6 trustees up here?
the day-to-day with expenditures, you see it in bills payable, and the finance is not here, but maybe, I don't want to put her on the spot right now for that. So, Cecilia.
But she
On the spot on that, as far as the disbursement daily, and the village manager's not here, so I can't see, because we don't see the day-to-day expenditures of what they're doing, but we do see it in the budget, and we know that that's been appropriated for the expenditures of that, so that was the last time that was done. So when they're here, I could elaborate on that more with you, and I'll also talk to the village manager to give you that information. To be fair, because I can't speak.
Okay, no, but Mayor, I wasn't questioning.
No, but
I was just throwing things out there. That's
okay, all right, thank you. All right, so that will be a first, second reading on the next agenda on the travel and the training. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for that. The next issue is resolution authorizing transfers of the TIF funds account to general funds for payment of redevelopment project costs related to engineering services and Robinson Engineering. Okay, open for discussion. Yes, please.
Madam Mayor, item 5A2, which is in reference to transferring funds for payment of engineering services, as well as item 5A3, which is a corresponding resolution authorizing transfer of funds from TIF accounts to the general fund for payment of legal services.
Montana and Welch
LLC. These two items are in reference to expenses incurred for items which would be considered redevelopment project costs within TIFs of the village that would qualify under the statutes and redevelopment agreements as redevelopment project costs, which could be paid out of TIF funds. What the village manager is looking to do, and if you recall, a few months ago, I don't remember what month, we had the same sort of resolution in reference to payment redevelopment project cost for financial services provided by IRH for TIP work, as well as for legal services performed by Montana and Welch. What he's looking to do is transfer funds, or have resolution to transfer funds from the TIP account to the general fund, to reimburse the general fund for payment of services performed, specifically in reference to the TIPs. They'll also be included with the resolution. Robinson Engineering has broken down their costs to identify which TIP they would be related to, as well as Montana and Welch LLC. They have their expenses broken down by TIP. So that's what these two resolutions are for, is to reimburse the general fund for monies or expenses incurred in reference to work done in relation to TIPs.
Okay, on that note, my first comment is I understand that clearly, and I've talked to Robinson Engineers and you guys and the village manager. However, I would like to see an attachment from IDOT on a state statute regulation statement showing that we can legally do that, seeing how people have been yelling about we're using TIP funds illegally. I want to make sure that there is some type of support on this resolution showing a state legislation statement legally somewhere in the state statute that this is legal for us to be okay to do that. And I'm okay as long as we have some legal language to it. Yes, ma'am?
Is this the argument that has been coming up against us, that we're taking TIF funds, putting them in general funds and paying bills?
No.
Is that what got us in the trouble that we're in today?
No, this is I'll let him elaborate on it. This is IDOT funds just for things that you can use for an industrial park, that you can use legally. IDOT funds, TIP funds to work on TIP projects. So I'll let him elaborate more on that.
Right, not IDOT funds, but these are expenses incurred, which would be, under the statute, there's redevelopment project costs, certain things qualify to be paid for out of the TIP account and the taxes which are paid into the TIP.
So we're paying our bills? You saying?
No, not necessarily bills.
Just those particular.
They would be expenses or bills incurred, but they're costs which would be considered redevelopment project costs under the statute, which may be paid for out of that increment that TIP, taxes paid through the TIP.
Okay, so is it legal for us to take TIF money, put it in general funds to pay this? That's my question.
It's to reimburse, is an example. Today, on the bills payable were 3 monthly bills from Montana Welch LLC. On those 3 bills, there's a breakdown of items what the billing's for. Within that, there would be expenses for probably TIF 4 and TIF 5, maybe TIF 6. I'm not sure. They'll pay Montana and Welch as had been approved. Those expenses that were related to the TIFs, what this resolution would do would be to we're getting paid out of the general fund, or Montana and Welch is getting paid out of the general fund for TIF work. What this resolution would do would be to authorize money to be transferred from the TIF account to the general fund to reimburse it for expenses that were paid out of the general fund, which could have been paid out of the TIF, or should be paid out of the TIF.
So let me clear this up. My question concern. I would like to see what we're going to do is we're going to have TIF money. There's TIF money, a lot of TIF money there that you can pay certain bills out of, according to the state statute. Correct, Attorney?
Correct.
Okay. And what we are going to do, for clarification, and for everyone's understanding, you'll have, instead of saying general funds, it'll come from the TIF funds. And you'll show the expenditures from the TIF fund, not moving general fund, not moving TIF fund to the general funds. It'll be specifically the TIF fund account, and the money will be coming out of that. Am I correct? Just a second, let me give him a clarification.
In reference to the way the village manager, and I spoke to the village manager about this, indicated, the board would like to see the transparency. So what we're doing is having a resolution to show the funds, like Montana and Welch, for those 3 months, January, February, March. There's TIF work that's involved in there. The general fund is going to pay for those 3 bills. To reimburse the general fund because they were TIF eligible expenses, the money can be transferred pursuant to this resolution from the TIF account to general fund. To reimburse it is to reimburse the general fund for payment of redevelopment project costs.
That's what I mean, they're TIF eligible. That's the key word,
Correct.
eligible.
Correct.
Okay. Trustee Wilson?
Okay, so I totally agree with the mayor on, I don't know who you get the state statute from stating what's TIF eligible, but I don't remember what month. But a couple months ago, we voted on transferring TIF money for TIF eligible work, and it was not an itemized bill. I believe it was for IRH. I go back and look at my records. We did 2 transfers. And
IRA
one was detailed, right, and one was not. So if we're doing TIF work and the board has to vote on it, I personally would like to see in advance that you're working on X, Y, and Z, and it's TIF eligible, and we're looking not to exceed X amount of dollars, but to vote now to transfer money from January, February, and March that the board wasn't aware of, or all of the board wasn't aware of, it's a little eerie. But I just want to make sure it's detailed, because the last time we transferred TIF money, it was just a list that said, this month, this amount of money, no details. You remember?
Robinson.
Do you remember the number?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was a resolution for IRH and for financial services and for legal services, that resolution. And I do know that I haven't seen recent bills, but bills I've seen coming out of the Office of Montana and Welch are broken down specifically by TIF for specifically what it's for. And we've received from Robinson Engineering, they've done a breakdown per TIF for specific work. And you'll be getting all that stuff in advance before the meeting.
I just asked
That's
this
so that all
because
the trustees can review it.
Right. That's what I want.
we voted out the money, the majority of the board voted out the money today for January, February, and March, and we don't have any bills. So when we talk about transparency is showing what we're paying for, and I just don't see that in this package that we voted on today for January, February, and March. So I'm asking if we're going to transfer from the TIF, that we need to see itemized what each dollar is for, because it's not in this bill's payable.
Excuse me, Cecilia, you have that, correct? Yes, she will give it to the board. Yeah, but she needs to give it to the board.
Yeah, Mary.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
You do.
ma'am. I can concur with what Attorney Wise is saying about the last time we did go back and correct everything with the itemized bill, and I do understand that the board wants to see the attached invoices, so
Right.
we will send the attached invoices.
As far in advance as we possibly can,
Yes.
because again, on this, that's why I was saying, on this resolution, upcoming resolution that we're contemplating on, that they will have on here that it will be TIF funds and TIF eligible and TIF payments. I'm sorry, Trustee Trustee Payton.
Yeah, just a couple of things, Mayor. First, I just want to clarify something more for the general public and for Trustee Williams. There was abuse, Williams, because there was abuse before and a lack of transparency in using TIF funds for the village purposes. Since we have done the analysis now for other TIFs and found out where the problems lie or were, the manager has tried to make things clear to everyone that whenever TIF eligible expenses have been incurred, that the board will be aware of it and approve the transfer of funds, where before that was not done. The other thing is that it's the invoice that we received, and this addresses some of the comments that Trustee Wilson made. Some of the invoices, the invoice that we got where we did a similar thing for IRH development, most of the work that they did was for the TIFs. They did not know at the time they started working on it that the village wanted it broken out by TIFs versus other things that they were working on. So when they submitted, what they did, it was basically just a whole bill. To Trustee Wilson's credit, she brought this to their attention. They went back and then broke it out as best as they could. So, and then since that time, any TIF eligible work that they do is now separated out so that there's a clear understanding of what expenses are incurred as a result of the TIF. In addition to that, what the IRH and what the manager is doing is to take a look at all of the TIF related expenses. Now you can't set a cap on what the cost will be because once you get involved in it, you may not know how complicated the issue is, particularly legally. We ran into a lot of things, including litigation and mediation, that there's no way that you could say you can only spend $5,000 on this. I mean, it just didn't work that way. So but I think we have now the controls in place to make certain that we don't fall back into the practices that we had before, where it was doing whatever you wanted to do with the funds of the village. Even the redevelopment agreements themselves are reviewed to make sure that if there's anything in the redevelopment agreement related to reimbursement of TIF funds, because not all redevelopment agreements are the same. So they have been actually reviewing the redevelopment agreements to determine what's TIF eligible and what's not TIF eligible, what's TIF eligible for reimbursement. So for example, to the company itself. So there have been plenty of controls put into place, and what you see here now is a product of that transparency. Okay, so I just wanted to add a little perspective to that, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate that so much. Yes, Trustee Wilson?
Well, I'm glad to hear that after my comments at that meeting, that IRH went back and gave us a detailed list. If I could get a copy of that detailed list that the majority of the board voted yes to, I'd like to have a copy of that.
And I will say this again, we would told everybody, feel free to go to them at any time. You want to go to RH rather, not IRS, and review anything. They're open and make an appointment to see them. They're more than happy to share that with you. Okay, so with that said, is this agreeable for to put this on the next agenda? A first reading, or second reading, or first?
3 readings.
First, second, and third reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next item 5A, 4, discussion ordinance related to lost equipment by village employees, appointees, and elected officials. Okay, that's my baby. I'm going to say we need to put something in place, attorney, that lost items, it's got to stop. When you lose phones or you bring your personal equipment on the site for staff, anyone that bring their equipment here or anyone lose items, because right now we're in the process of trying to get tablets. And once we get those tablets, I would appreciate it. I want this in the ordinance that we have take some type of insurance for these. And if you lose phones, and you all know, people are losing phones up here, 5+ phones, we can't keep affording to just replace them. So I want something in place that if you lose a phone or you lose equipment that belongs to the village, that you pay for it before you get reissued another one. Because it's beginning to be a little maddening when you keep losing items, or if you bring something on site, the village is not going to be responsible for your phone or your tablet. You just have to take ownership, because I know in my job you can't bring them. You can't bring your personal PCs, your tablets, anything. And if you do, we give you a property pass and let you know that you're totally responsible. Because we can't afford that expense. We're trying to cut back our losses. You know, my granddaughter is 11 years old. She's never lost her iPhone 11 in 3 years. So grown people, you know, you keep losing repetitively. I mean, something happens every once in a while, and I get that. But you should you should reimburse the village before you get issued another one. It's just not that simple. Just keep giving them to you back and forth. That's just ridiculous.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to go forward with this as of now, or what was lost in the past, like yesterday? Are we going to reimburse that as a village, or are we going to mandatory now and cover the past?
Moving forward, unfortunately. So I just think that's something that we should be responsible adults, that you just can't keep doing that. And if you bring something on the property, you're responsible for that property. You can't say, I lost my laptop, I lost my helmet, I lost my this and that. You know, be responsible, people. We can't afford it. Okay?
Madam Mayor, I'm just checking this. Would that be more of instead of an ordinance, more of a policy that the village manager should be taking care of? Or, well, that we would ask the village manager to enforce? Because I know we have ordinance on here.
Yes.
So I guess I'm kind of attorney-wise, but that's
Is that an ordinance or a policy?
more of a, yeah.
Policy?
Yeah.
I don't, and I know that there was a draft policy, that might have been personnel handbook. I don't know if that was included.
Yeah, we do.
The draft that everybody's going to review, the comments and thoughts.
We should be reviewing that policy as we speak.
We'll have to look through that to see if it's already included, if not.
Okay.
Maybe amend it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, madam.
Yeah, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, wait a minute, a question. What did you say, Trustee Wilson? Wait a minute. I'm sorry, too many conversations. Trustee Wilson, what did you say?
So the policy that we're talking about, the board should be reviewing, that's for the employee handbook.
Yes, that's what it is. It's
And
a
we're talking
policy.
about putting a policy in the employee handbook about what board of trustee members losing phones?
Well, it's a policy, I said employees as well. Everyone, it's a policy for the village. Actually, it's a village policy. And they're included, it's always been in there for trustees, staff, everyone's in their policy. But if you look at it, you'll see that.
Right.
Hey, Trustee.
Mayor, how would we define lost is the question I have. So for example, what happens if something is stolen?
That's totally.
It's still lost.
It's still lost. Yeah.
It was
still responsible.
It was the village's equipment. Somebody turned their back for a minute, and somebody stole their phone or laptop, or it's in their car or whatever, and the car got burglarized and the stuff got stolen. So, are we saying then, under those circumstances, that the individual will have to pay? And also, I wanted to include damage the thing. So, somebody drops their phone or their laptop and it gets damaged.
What insurance is for. I mean, as far as the damages, because my phones are insured.
Well, then,
and we have ours insured though.
So then, should the village, if it's phones or laptops or whatever, should, because I have insurance on my personal phone. So should we have insurance on the village phones then, if that's going to be the case?
We do. We have insurance on the village phones.
So,
as far as damage.
Right. Well,
I don't know
even if I lost mine. So So, is that something that should then be included? I just want to, if you're going to develop a policy,
Yes.
I just want to make sure it's clear what's covered and what's not covered.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
Just to piggyback off Trustee Payton, I do believe that an insurance issue would be very appropriate in regards to a village phone, because that would be very appropriate. That way, if something ever happens to a village phone, it's prepaid as part of an overall package in regards to our cell phones. So insurance would be the smart move, and I think that's what we've had on our village phones in the past. So I believe anytime a phone was lost, it was covered by insurance.
I have a comment.
Okay. Okay, Trustee Wilson.
Okay, so if insurance covers it, usually, to Trustee Payton's point, if my phone is stolen, I go to the police department and I file a report. If my laptop is stolen, I go to the police department and file a report. I think, I don't recall reading this, I don't remember seeing this part in the handbook, but maybe if we put tracking, all our phones are tracked, and then if it's lost, they can usually find your phone that way, and police have gone and knocked on people's doors for laptops, iPads, tablets, and the phones. So if you lose your phone and you don't have the tracking mechanism on it, then I think that should be something handled differently. But if you have the tracking and you have insurance, you file a police report, the police go handle the matter, and then maybe your item, laptop, phone, tablet can be retrieved. But if you don't put that tracking mechanism on, then we can't find the phone, and my buddy right here could have it while I get a drug.
Right.
Trustee Wilson, this is an iPhone. If they turn it off, you can't track it. You cannot track this phone.
If they turn it on, you can't.
Yeah,
They're gonna turn it
on. Professional, if you lose this phone and they confiscate your phone, they turn it off, you cannot track this phone.
What do you mean turn it off?
If someone steals your phone and turns it off, you cannot track it.
Oh, I thought you meant disconnect, turn it off. There's
No,
a
just
difference.
turn it off.
Oh, they're gonna turn it on. They wouldn't use it.
So it is wise for us to pick up that insurance, and we have insurance on it now, and the future laptops that are coming in, insurance for those as well.
Tablets, no laptops.
I mean, tablets.
And and I understand, I appreciate that. However, just because we have insurance, you don't lose them. Just keep losing them and losing them and losing them because we got insurance. That's not a good answer.
Yeah.
That's not good. But okay, I'm sorry, Trustee.
Yeah, just because I want to make sure that we're clear that we're not talking just about the board, but we're also talking about employees.
Yes,
so
sir.
if something is stolen, because at one point, when we got, this was even before we got elected initially, there were a lot of tools being stolen out of public works.
Yes, sir.
So, but a person could be working and tools or whatever may be stolen. That's not something we necessarily, if it's a small thing, are going to report to the police department, because it's liable to cost more for them to deal with. They have to try to deal with just the paperwork than what the tool may cost. So then are we then saying, because it's lost, that the employee is responsible for replacing the tool or the equipment?
Well, okay, let me look at it like this. I have a government-issued laptop, and if I lose it, they have tracking mechanisms on mine. And it's my responsibility. I have to sign paperwork, and I'm totally responsible if I lose something. But I understand what you mean as far as tool, like if they're working, they're cutting grass or something, or tool they're using, if they drop in,
Park the truck.
that part, the truck that someone stole, like they stole the whole truck one time. Yeah. We still waiting on that insurance policy. But I don't know how we handle that.
Madam Mayor,
Can I?
if I could, before
Go ahead.
Director Richardson steps in, there's a difference between something that's stolen and something that's lost.
Right.
Something stolen, it's not lost. lost and misplaced items are different than stolen items. If something's stolen, it's not lost. And I don't think you could institute a policy where somebody has something stolen from them, that they're liable to repay the bill for something. But the criminal acts are third party. But, Director Richard?
Just, Madam Mayor, if I can,
Yes, sir.
just real quick, we got to shed a little light on the employee side situation. I think every union book has a different statement in it regarding equipment that is being issued to the employees. I know, for instance, in Public Works, everyone has to sign out their phones. There is a statement in the employee handbook for lost equipment and the responsibility each employee has on the equipment they're issued. In the book, for instance, myself, my tablet has a tracking device. I had to sign it out, and I'm responsible for it. If I lose it. My 2 village phones, I had to sign them out. I'm responsible for it if I lose it. All employees sign papers, they sign their paperwork, they are responsible for their phone. If you plow on the street in the middle of the night and you lose your phone, it depends on how it's looked at. But every employee is responsible to sign out their equipment, they're responsible for their equipment. If you lose keys, you're responsible for the keys that you lost. So it is in the employee handbook, it is in the employee rules.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir. Trustee?
I just want to give, somehow we got a little lost here about, well, the word lost in what you're asking for in this policy. And I'm also going to agree with Director Richardson. In all the years that I was a police officer, that radio, and we got an officer over there, he'll tell you, that radio better not leave your side, am I correct?
Yeah.
Better not leave. In 15 years, Madam Mayor, and I will say, one mistake I did make. First day on the job, 15 minutes into the call, shots fired, see the guy running, that radio failed. See the guy with the gun, my field training officer told me, I don't care, you can go back and get that radio. He made me run back a whole block. I was so mad when we called together. He said, whatever you do not lose an item issued by this city. And even when I got to Country Club Hills, that pager, because we didn't have cell phones yet back then that they issued, that pager, your radio, and your badge. I've always kept it. So, Madam Mayor, I do agree with you. It should be a policy issue. When I became a trustee, I received a badge and I received a phone. I haven't lost it yet. So I do feel that if someone has lost it once, you might get a slap on the wrist. But that second time, Madam Mayor, I feel that, you know what? The people pay you X amount of dollars to sit up here, and that's really their phone or their equipment, if they're a laptop, a cell phone, whatever it is. So I do believe if it's in the book, it should be held. If Director Richardson, him and his guys can follow the same directive, if Deputy Chief Wilson and her officers can follow those same rules, board members should be able to follow the same rules as well.
Trustee Wilson?
I'm looking in the handbook that was sent to all of us to review, and where would that be in the handbook? Because I don't see anything about equipment. So I'm all for following the same procedure and bring it to the next board meeting with first reading.
Thank you.
Specifically that policy,
Yes.
as that one will get to.
Thank you, Trustees, to be adding into our policies.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Trustee.
Yeah, I just don't want to be like a situation, like I have at home, where I say, my phone's missing. My wife tells me, Somebody must have stolen it. And the next day I find it was just lost. So I just want to make sure we don't get in that kind of situation. So it's clarified.
Yes, I understand. So, I'm sorry.
Have any of y'all
Yes.
been in the military before? Have
I've been at military wife, but
The Army has the same rule. If they issue you something, you're
Oh, yeah.
responsible for it. If you don't, you have to pay. Sometimes they don't take all your money, they take some of it.
they do.
And
They charge you.
They charge you.
Yeah.
So that's.
The government is like being in the military, believe me. Everything. And I saw also, I'm going to put in there, we're going to add in there badges, because we have not received some badges, and that needs to be a police report, and that's equipment, and that's dangerous equipment, because people can go and falsify themselves with those badges, and we've yet to get a report on the lost badges. So I want that to be a part, because that is a really highly issued piece of equipment. Okay? All right, so we'll put that on as a policy, and that will be first, second reading, or first, second, and third?
First and second.
First and second reading. Okay.
All right, that's almost about the last one. We have one last.
Pending items not brought before the board, trustees. Wait a minute, let me see that more explicitly. John Wise. Okay.
Mayor, a couple items. One item that will be presented at the next board meeting is an ordinance on the prevailing wages. This is an annual ordinance that has to be passed for each municipality regarding prevailing wages. That will be coming forward 2 weeks from today.
Okay. Yes, that's been locally, that's been highly, nationally spoken of. Prevailing wages.
And it's required.
Yes.
By state. Also, village manager indicated he wants to begin the process to close TIF 3. TIF 3 is where Applied Systems is located, and that TIF is now expiring, so we're going to begin the procedure to close that TIF. I don't know if there'll be anything at the next meeting in June, but to advise the board that we will begin the process to close that TIF.
You mean in July? No, in June, we have another meeting.
Yeah, there's another meeting in June.
Only one in July.
Right.
Okay. Well, that is mandated. That's a national, prevailing wages is a law that we must adopt and abide by. And it's closing TIF 3. How close is that expiration date?
I believe, I would have to verify, but I think the 23 years has expired. This is one where Applied Systems,
Right.
I think, was the only company left, and it was expiring in the
Okay.
fall.
Okay, so as close notice as you can give us that, so we can review it, I'd appreciate it. Is that agreeable to be put on the prevailing wages for the first, second, and third reading?
Yes.
Okay, and the part about the TIF closure, what would you like? First, second, and reading, or first, second, and third reading? We have that.
I'll have to see, we could reach out ahead of time
Okay.
to see if the paperwork's going to be ready for next meeting.
Okay, you might not be ready. Okay, and that's, okay. Action item, okay? Yes, trustees?
So I have a question. So when I read this explanation, on the agenda it mentions discussion pending items not brought before the board.
Yeah.
And the clarification says this item is brought before the board for Attorney Weiss to address pending items that were either tabled or brought before the board that require additional work and or research.
Final action.
The board prioritizes legislation and provide a timeline to bring items that were tabled for further research back before the board for final action. While I understand and agree with everything you just said, to me, that's not at all what this paragraph is saying.
Yes.
To me, this paragraph is saying prioritize and have a list of items you've tabled, like my concussion protocol and things like that. Is that not what this meant?
I didn't get what you're looking at, so I didn't see that. What you're referring to, but I think the items that are out there are the issue with concussions. There's also the business license fees. We're still conducting a survey We've brought that to the board a couple times. They asked for a survey of surrounding villages to look at what their fee structures are for all the different fees, to see where they relate to that. And then the third would be the crime-free housing ordinance.
Right.
There's also going to be a survey in relation to see how much that program is going to cost, is one of the items for crime-free housing, as well as to look at other, aside from park boards, that we other communities that have crime-free housing.
Right. And that was more informational board than a vote, so I guess that's why I put that on there.
So this is, we will create and maintain a prioritized list.
Right.
And provide time frames.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Right, the business license that we hope to get before you in July.
Okay.
We'll get that to you ahead of time. So as there's no committee of the whole, in July, it's just a regular board meeting.
What's the timeline of concussion protocol?
Concussion,
Still researching
that I have not been in contact. I believe they're looking to reach out to the different leagues for discussion. I don't know where that's at this point in time.
Should we have somebody designated doing that? Has somebody volunteered to do that? I mean, if we don't assign action items.
Chief was told me he was working on that.
Okay. So this clarification just says the board will prioritize and provide a timeline to bring items that were tabled before the board. Okay. So if we could list, what's the time frame on the crime-free housing?
I do not have a timetable for that. We're still, we have to look at surveying the other villages, and I'll have to work with the manager to see if there's an estimate of cost. I think one of the things the board was looking at was how much this is going to cost the village if it's put into place. So I'll have to talk to him and see where the finance aspect of that is.
Okay. So maybe at the next board meeting, we can have a
list of the time frames of each item that was tabled.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just a quick question. I know that Manager Pate was the one that did send this email out, and I know when I was chair and a couple of people who was up here chair, usually the chair of the board usually would keep track of what we got tabled and so forth, of what would come up on the agenda. They control the agenda, correct? Okay, just checking. All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No worries. Okay. Now with that said, those are all the things that I just want to, since our village, this is a notice that's important. It's not a part of this, well, for the adjournment. What is that? A question for is very important to the audience, and I've been receiving a lot of phone calls. Is they want to know how many of those signs that keep the village clean, how many have we distributed out? Or how many have we posted?
We ordered.
I see one on Blackhawk.
Yeah, we ordered 4.
So they're all not here
One
yet?
out here,
Okay.
Statham on the Road in Parkway. There's one at the beginning of Parkway here in Weston.
Okay.
Blackhawk.
Blackhawk,
And then the last one is down on Olmsted in Blackhawk. They're at the
Okay.
entrances as you come into the
Okay,
building.
thank you.
Yeah.
And the trash cans that we ordered last time,
They're in the parks.
they're in the parks only?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, we had ordered, the state rep gave us some trees last year. Did we plant those? Or did we?
We got 2.
We only have 2?
We only got 2.
We picked up more than that. Yeah, we did.
I would pick up 2.
We picked up 5. Okay. I don't know who picked them up, but we got 5. So I remember I made the order. You just have 2 left. Well, the chief said he think they were lost in a box. They were never opened. But anyway, okay, the village stickers, just for the audience to know. The village stickers are on sale, have been on sale since May, and they will continue until June 30th. I received 7 phone calls about the stickers. If you're unable to purchase your Village Hall sticker, there's a blue box. As you go into, not the ones right there by the mill, as you go into the actual Village Hall, there's a blue box. Put your forms in there, and they will mail the stickers back to you. If you don't have time to get there between 9 and 5:30 or 5 o'clock, please just drop them in the blue box and they will mail them back to you. Or call the Village Hall for accommodations, 708-534-6451. Okay? And also to let you know, I know our treasurer sent the email thanking me, but I have to receive that back. He said that the GO bonds we were using to do Black Hawk, no, just correction. If anybody hears that or I corrected them, those are not GO bonds. That is an RTA grant, 100% grant that you see the construction on Black Hawk and the streets is being done. That's a grant again from RTA. That's how we got the bonds was back at the golf course years ago. That's not. So just for corrections, I want everybody to understand that. And that's why I want to make this statement. The truth has power to help us move from hopeless to hopeful and live faithful and faith-filled. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Trustee Wilson, second. Second by Trustee Hammond. I'm sorry. I'll ask her after. I'm sorry. Second by Trustee Brooks. Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams? Aye. Trustee Wilson?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Both sides.
Trustee McMullen?
Both sides.
Trustee Payton?
Aye.
Trustee Oscar Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Copeland?
Aye, thank you, and happy Father's Day, everyone. God bless.